Dr. Blake Grisham here with Wildlife Semi-Filtered. We have all of our TTU TWS officers for this year and next year, and Dr. John Tomecek with us this week. Once again, the podcast where the audio and video is subpar and inadequate, and so is the wildlife knowledge. Um, we're going to get started here with a large group of individuals from Texas Tech University, including our current president, Micah Rainey, and she's going to make some introductions to our new officer team as well as make some announcements pertaining to the upcoming officer class. So with that, I'm going to turn on my desktop here. You can see everyone is there. Dr. Tomacek is up there, and then we have all of our officer team with their funny backgrounds and whatnot. I have all kinds of people chatting. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, I think Dr. Heather Mathewson and send out the invitation to Tarleton. So if you guys are on here, welcome. We're glad to have you. Anyone tuning in from A&M, welcome as well. We're glad to have you guys as well. I had a few Facebook posts saying new people are tuning in. And we're especially happy to have you guys from Tech, Maggie and Tyler, if you guys are there. Really, really happy to have you guys. So with that, Micah, the show is you, all yours.
Okay, so I guess I'm just doing officer announcements and that kind of thing. We're all winging it because this is wildlife semi-filtered and we don't know what's happening next. So my current officer team, they have previously introduced themselves. For our new officer team, I'd like to start off with Sophie, who's the new president. Sophie, do you mind waving or saying hi?
Hi.
So introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are, your background. Like
Sophie.
Seconds.
I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm in Albuquerque right now. There's not really much else to say.
Words, hard English phrases. Can you do conjunction and piece some things together? So, where do you do your internship last year? Last
summer I worked with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, banding Cooper's Hawks, which is very cool. So that was in Albuquerque.
Very nice. And you were anticipating working with Lucas this summer, but who knows how that's going to work out. Okay, Micah, continue. Thank you so much.
Alrighty then. Sorry, new vice president is Brandon. Rich. There he is. So Brandon, you mind introducing yourself just again? I know you've done it before because you're a previous officer. Just at least say hi to us and that kind of thing, please. Maybe.
He's in Wyoming and he's muted himself, so hold on, let me unmute him.
Oh yeah, he's still unmuted, but he's trying to talk.
Okay, my bad. Like Mikey said, my name is Brandon Segraves. I am from Wyoming. Here currently. I'm excited to be the new vice president, and I think it's going to be a great year.
Awesome, thank you. So our secretary is going to be Lainey Taylor. So Lainey, you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Yeah. I'm Lainey. I'm from Abilene, Texas, and I am going to be a sophomore.
Lady, for your own good, I'm muting you.
Lainey, thank you so much. It's not your fault that the microphone's weird.
Yeah, I think you got some wind and some interference, and then Brandon's right below you guys, and right below you, and you guys are all young and in love, so all kinds of interference going on there. So we're gonna mute that. Thank you, Lainey. We'll work on that the next coming weeks. So Michael, go ahead.
Okay, so our next officer is going to be Justin Dalsey, who's our treasurer.
Hi, I'm Justin. I'm from Sherman, Texas, and I'm going to be a senior.
And Justin, yeah. Justin worked for us last year on the chicken project. He's a valuable asset. Did you have plans lined up this summer that got kiboshed or anything?
Not this summer. I'm taking techniques injunction.
Okay.
So
see the email we sent. Okay. Micah, go for it.
All right. Peyton Hess is going to be our new media chair.
Hello.
Hey.
She's a lot of one word per stream. our every hour, and she's just used it up. Um, Thank you, Peyton. Appreciate it. Peyton's kind of the newest officer. Peyton and Quentin are kind of new to this, so we'll get the koi. We'll beat that out of them over time. So, Micah, go ahead.
Okay. On Peyton's behalf, she's a very motivated wildlife student who I believe is in her first year at Texas Tech. Give me a thumbs up or down for right. Kind of, sort of.
I
Okay.
took a semester off, so it's like I'm
Okay.
still a freshman, but I'll be a sophomore after this semester.
And you're still
Okay,
interested
that
in
makes
working
sense.
in the marine animals, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Trying.
So next week when Tiffany Lane is with us from Fish and Wildlife Service, you need to join in because she works on the coast. And I think there's this where water and land meet. Not sure. All right,
In
Micah.
Texas? Sorry.
Okie dokie. And then Joanna's going to be our new outreach coordinator.
Hey guys, fun fact, it just started hailing outside and my phone just got a tornado warning on it. So this will be great when the Wi-Fi goes out.
Okay, so if you need to go, we understand.
Okay, it's fine right now. There's nothing going on too bad.
If you leave the video up and we see the house get ripped to shreds, that's great sales pitch for this very bad
Okay,
podcast.
I'll leave the video running and I'll point it at the living room. So if something happens, you'll just see the whole thing get wiped out.
Okay, think of us, not yourself or your own safety, okay? That's what
Sounds good.
Any other officers? Did we miss anyone?
Yeah, so Quentin,
Yeah.
You haven't had a chance to introduce yourself as the current and new council representative, so if you don't mind giving us a chance. Sorry, English is hard.
Hey, I'm Quentin Target. I'll be a junior this year. I'm from Seminole, Texas. That's pretty much it.
Very nice. So Quentin was our ag. You helped Logan with the ag council rep for this past half semester, correct? And then you're taking over it full time starting in when we go back to school, which maybe never at this point. Micah, do you have any other announcements or anything for us? We had a couple of things to announce, didn't we?
Okay, yes, we did. So, chapter announcement, club announcements, all those kind of things. Since we're in quarantine, we don't really have that many announcements to share with y'all. What I do want to share a little bit of it, just working behind the background, that we are working on the national TWS application. So we're buckling down, getting that done. And then we've also been updating the website, just working on transferring, getting our new officers to the place and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, but we don't have anything that's really something for you guys to know. We do have a couple of awards that are traditionally handed out at the end of the year at officer meetings, not officer meetings, club meetings. And since this is essentially kind of a club meeting of sort, I'd like to start introducing them. So, oh my goodness. Dr. Grisham, would you like to announce the officer of the year? You know who it is, I texted you.
It's Olivia, right? I just want to say, I never got the official email. So I'm learning which way is which here. Olivia, you're Officer of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's you received nothing other than accolades. Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you. You've been a valuable asset. All of you guys have been a valuable asset, and I'm really sad to see some of you guys go. Not you, Micah. But the rest of them.
Anyway, so moving on from that negative and unnecessary comment, we're going to move on to the student member of the year. So the officer team voted on this back in February or March, I believe, and we were just trying to really think what member had really consistently been helping us. They have been on.
Hold on, sorry. Is Olivia's your mom on here? It says Olivia's mom is chatting.
Probably.
That is very sweet.
I told
that
her to
is super
that,
sweet.
But it's fine.
It's awesome. Welcome to Olivia's mom. Sorry, Mike. I just got really excited when I saw one of the parents chimed in.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, so well, okay. So getting it back together, our student member of the year had earned this position through the consistent work that they have put in throughout the year. So they've been really helpful with like game dinner. They've been helpful with whatever we may need and that kind of thing. So I'm happy to announce our student member of the year, Sophie Morris. She's kicked butt as a member this past year, and I'm excited to see what she does as president here in the next year. So
Congratulations.
there's my official
Sophie.
announcement.
It's your last semester as a regular member, and you're going in as president, which is a total transition of, hey, let's have all the fun, to, hey, let's answer 30 emails from Grisham and Dr. Conway on an hourly basis. So welcome.
Yeah, you're really hyping it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing but it's pure. It's great. I promise you'll enjoy it. Micah, do you have any announcements before we hand it over to Dr. Tomecek?
No, not really. Just want to put a PSA out there that cyberbullying is not cool. And I don't appreciate being called the turd by Dr. Grisham or something like that. But other than that, there's no other announcements or anything like that. Just wanted to throw my little piece in right there as my final act of president publicly.
Yeah,
Cheers.
so we're officially transitioned now, right? So you're out, Sophie's in.
I think it transitioned like officially on Wednesday, but this is our last public appearance, so.
Oh, so I can like boot you from the video call now. How do I do that?
Absolutely, guys.
Oh, I can put you in the waiting room. Hold on, there you go. All right, she's gone. So.
Oh, harsh.
So let me find the waiting room again. Okay, there we go. We get her back now.
You shipped her off to limbo.
I did the virtual limbo. I'm going to miss you guys so much. You guys have been a valuable officer team. I look forward to becoming your friend over a long time from now. So with that, our special guest is Dr. John Tomecek from A&M Ag Extension Agency, and he is the current president of the Texas chapter of the Wildlife Society. Let me see if I can get that out of there. Nope, that did not work. So let me get my Zoom call back. Okay, hold on, everyone. We're having technical difficulties. That would be me. So there's Micah. There we go. My apologies. John, I messed everything up. I'm really good at doing that. John, John will allow you to give a more thorough introduction to you and what you do. And I'm going to mute everyone minus you. So it's all you, okay?
Oh, good Lord, don't do that. I don't know how to unmute anybody, so that could get really bad.
Okay.
You're in charge, Blake. So thanks for having me on. This is super fun because usually, as I was telling my department head earlier, I said, I have a lecture to give for Texas Tech tonight. And he said, oh, John, you're working really hard, really late on a Friday. Good for you. And I thought to myself, man, he really does not understand our field because he's an interim head and he's an animal scientist. And we just have way too much fun. So I'm not going to tell him that I'm actually having fun right now. That's beside the point. I really appreciate, Blake, everybody having me on. This is just a lot of fun here because over the last few years, I've gotten to know the Texas Tech folks a lot better. Of course, you know, Blake, you're up there. Warren moved up there several years ago. And then through y'all, I've gotten to know all of your amazing students. And to everybody on the call that's a student chapter officer, amazing work. You guys do awesome stuff, and I'm always impressed. Particularly tonight, Olivia and Wyoming win the award for having backgrounds featuring Photoshop versions of me.
Yes.
Although there is not a Texas chapter award for that, I will probably make a point to highlight you at the annual meeting next year because you made me feel special.
We can make these available for you, Dr. Tomecek, during your exit speech if you would like to do
that. Actually, and that tank that Micah made earlier this week with you and I really want that thing to be on the slideshow behind me as I'm giving my speech at Texas chapter. That would be tremendous.
I think you need to bring back the former tradition of 3-hour exit speeches with nothing but of slideshows of memes and photos of their Photoshop.
You know, it would take a whole year to accumulate that, but yeah, it sounds kind of like fun. So thank you. I really appreciate being on here. And when I heard that you guys were doing this, at first I thought, oh man, Blake's lecturing on a Friday night. What the heck? That's not good. But then the idea of what we're doing right now and getting everybody together in an informal way, you guys that were at the annual meeting when I took over, I'm sorry that you had to listen to me. But on the other hand, also I talk about how, to me, wildlife, especially in Texas, is a big family. And it's different. As Dr. Grisham and I were talking earlier this week, it's different from a lot of fields of science where we've got this strange professional, personal bond. And especially during the COVID situation, being able to see everybody is a really big deal and getting to hang out. The folks that are on from Tarleton, Schwertner and Mathewson and myself and my wife were on a call the other night just hanging out. And it's a big deal. So I'm glad you guys are doing this. It's weird to be told, John, you've got the hour, talk about whatever you want to. So for those of you that don't really know me, I'm down at Texas A&M University in my normal professional non-Texas chapter role. And I'm on the extension side of the house, which means my job is to do research and get it to people that need solutions for problems. And most of what I do is carnivore management, damage management, diseases, pigs, all the doomy gloomy stuff with wildlife. But it turns out to be super cool. And see if I get this right. As you can see with the logo behind me, so we've got this lab logo in my outfit for the Carnivore Ecology Lab at A&M. We've got this fox with little lightning bolts for feet, which is super fun. And we've got a spiel about it on the website. And so in true faculty fashion, I prepared a slideshow for tonight, which at this time I will share my screen and hope to God I share the right screen. So let's see if this works.
Hey, we always preface everything is subpar and inadequate here. So.
And inadequate and thrown together at exactly the last minute. So can you guys see my slideshow?
Yes, John, you were on the stream. So just as an FYI, Dr. Tomecek, on the right-hand side is the video of us talking. Well, now it's down at the bottom because I clicked something wrong. So down at the bottom, I'm going to try to get it on the left-hand side again.
No worries. I just want to make sure it's up there. So I put some slides together for tonight, and the first one looks quasi-professional, and I promise you that's where it'll stop. So I wear a lot of different hats. And again, I appreciate Brandon photoshopping one of my favorite Facebook photos of me and my horse Shiner and having me ride a Coyote, and even gave me a new saddle, which is super fun. So thank you. I can't afford a new saddle. I really need one. So I wear a lot of hats. You know, I work for A&M. We work for AgriLife, which is the agency side of A&M. I've got the lab down in the bottom left logo, really snappy. And then, of course, I'm your president of the Texas chapter of the Wildlife Society right now, which I'll talk about later, and important things of professionalism and whatnot. But on the tune of wearing lots of different hats, I will now remove my lab hat. Oh, look at that. Everybody in the lab gets a hat. Oh, if you've seen people that work for me, they've all got hats. But the Texas Tech student chapter is so awesome, in fact, that I have a Texas Tech hat. Check that thing out. Look at that thing. Look at that thing.
That looks amazing on you.
Oh, I know. I was so honored.
And I think we said in the previous podcast or 2 episodes ago that you'll be getting a new one too. And Micah, do we have any updates on how we're going to sell the new hats?
To be completely honest, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I still have no answer. So if anybody has any great ideas, please drop in the comment section. I will read them. The new hats are awesome. If you don't mind, I'll go grab one real fast.
Yeah, go for it.
Just talk to you later.
Sorry, I just want to take the opportunity.
Oh, no, that's awesome. So I will tell all of y'all that are not at Texas Tech, the quickest way to my heart is swag. I love free stuff at meetings. So if you see me at a conference, particularly National TWS, you'll see me going shopping with one of my Texas chapter gift bags and taking stuff from all the vendor tables, whether or not I actually need it. As is evidenced by, on my desk right now, I have an East Foundation, well, you can't see that because the background, hang on, an East Foundation coaster. So I love swag. So thank you for the hat, Texas Tech student chapter. It's amazing. I'm super impressed. So I wear a lot of different hats, right? As we all do as professionals. And so we're going to talk a little bit about research that I do tonight, super fun things and being a professional. But one thing that Dr. Grisham and I talked about earlier this week that I am a firm believer in, I think was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is the chonk chart.
Yeah.
Is everybody familiar with the scale of chonkiness? If you're not, I believe it is a true legitimate way to rate the, let's say, body condition of various animals. And so, with that in mind, I have a little exercise for us that I call too chonk or not too chonk.
Well, I'm amazing. So I'm really excited about this because this is how I teach my optimal foraging theory lecture in Pop Die, but I also feed students at the same time. That's a chonk. Let's get this started. I'm excited.
So that guy is chonking. And I want to caveat this by saying not all of the photos that I'm going to show you are from the same time of year, and not all are from the same place, right? They're all in Texas. I'll give you that. But They're from different parts of the state and different times a year. But I've got 6 coyotes I want you to look at. I'm pretty sure they're all different individuals. And I want everybody, the officers that are on here, to vote for me, chonk or not chonk. And then maybe we can talk about why. Knowing, of course, Dr. Grisham, that you do optimal foraging theory, I've got a couple of auxiliary slides after we get done with the chonk that look at some other aspects of some of these photos. So, okay, you guys ready for to chonk or not to chonk?
I am excited. Now, Dr. Tomecek, just as FYI, you're sharing your screen, so all of the officers, we can't see all of them, so I'm going to encourage everyone, including our audience, to, in the chat, there's going to be about a 30-second delay to say chonk or not chonk, and I'll kind of pseudo-tally the votes, as in I'll just make it up as we go. So, go for it.
I like it. Okay, guys, so as it will come as absolutely no surprise, Coyote the first is the one you just looked at. So vote for me. I'm going to soft pitch here. To chonk or not to chonk? All right, that's all you get. Thick, super fancy Micah chonk.
To chonk.
Olivia, chonk. Super chonk. We got a lot of chonky votes going on in here tonight.
We got lots of chonk on. Now remember, folks, Dr. Tomecek, what is in your opinion, what is Quentin says chonk? What is the average mass of, let's just say, a male coyote in the spring?
So it's really going to depend on where you are. And the reason I caveat that is we do have a number of different subspecies of coyote throughout North America. But I'm going to tell you it's going to be somewhere in the 20-ish pound range, 25. They're not all that big. They're more floofy than chonky, especially in the wintertime, which is why you get folks that go, I got an 80-pound coyote. That is not a coyote. That is 8 pounds. I'm just here to tell you. It may be super floofy, but not a coyote. So this guy here, I'm going to go chonk. He a legitimate chonk.
And the consensus across the board is chonk.
Yeah, this is a soft pitch, y'all. This is a chonk. And so what's cool about this is this photo is actually taken at a feral swine carcass site. He a chonky boy going after his chonky resources.
This guy optimally forages.
He is optimally foraging. And as I tell everybody, most carnivores are inherently lazy. So if they can pursue a scavenging resource, okay, if I had to go fight you for a McDonald's hamburger, or I could pick up a T-bone steak off the street, I'm going for the street steak. It's going to happen. All right, so let's go for number 2, guys. Coyote the second, chonk or not chonk?
We're waiting on our audience to chime in. I'm going to type my message out. I don't know if it's chonk or not, but that animal has a beautiful soft coat on it.
Right? So I will tell you on this one, Blake, this was taken in November in South Texas.
Okay, November in South Texas. We're getting a lot of not chonks in right
Not chonks, right? And what's interesting about this guy, I've got several photos of this one. He had the craziest pelage, right? That white patch and that white kind of bottom jaw. You don't usually see that. And I'm going to show you some photos with him in it again later. So I would also go not chonk on this guy, right? But he's not in bad shape. But he's not in bad shape. So is he optimally foraging? Yeah, maybe. He looks really young to me. And the reason I say that, as mammalian males get older, we tend to get a little sag in the belly. We tend to get a little jowl in the throat. And for those of you that have worked on big game and ungulates, we talk about that a lot when we age deer on the hoof. The same is true in a lot of ways for carnivores. It can be just harder to see. So he's got all of the body shape requirements of a young animal that is not a chonk. So to all of you that are still teenagers and you can eat whatever you want and not gain weight, I hate you.
Yeah, same here. Grow a beard, get extra large t-shirts as you get older.
The future is coming. I'm just going to tell you.
It's going to get you. All right, so we got to across the board vote for not chonk on
not chonk. I would agree, not chonk, but not a lot of weird stuff going on, right? Just not a chonk. All right, let's try Coyote the third. So I apologize for the sunburst in the background. It's a game camera photo, and I intentionally left the date stamp on this one. And there's a reason. This is from Central Texas and in the Blacklands. This is from where I live. So take a look at this, think about it, chonk or not chonk, and then the special part is why.
I have my rationale, but I'm going to wait for the audience to chime in.
I want to see what the students can do.
Yeah, Olivia, Quentin, Micah, Price, we can see what, Micah, hold yours up a little closer.
Yeah, what you got, Micah?
That's my birthday, not Chonk. Brandon says not Chonk, summer, and feeding pups.
So Micah, is that really your birthday? Oh no, and Micah's background is now a collage of my faces, which is also scary.
So we're getting not Chonk from across the audience. Olivia, I can't see yours. What did you say?
I asked if it was pregnant because you can see its teeth really well.
Yes.
Ah, great question, great question. So, pretty much across the board, not Chonk, right?
Yeah, I think everyone's saying not Chonk, yeah.
I too would agree not Chonk. And Olivia's question about is it pregnant? Thank you. So when is the peak of coyote breeding season? Most of the time, it's right around Valentine's Day because coyotes are super romantic. So for those of you who came on my coyote capture, we try to do it early in the year so that we're not handling pregnant females, and we cut it off as we get into March, one for temperature, but two from their late term.
Yeah.
So 63-day gestation, breeding peak right around mid-February means middle of April is when we're having pups. So what happens when we get to July here? So one thing I want you to look at, so her teats are obvious,
Yes.
and she's pretty thin, but you'll notice her pelage is really rough and her tail looks like it is just trashed.
Yes.
She's got pups in a den. So the funny thing about it is sliding in and out of a dirt hole in the ground roughs up your hair. No surprise there. And in the den, the pups tend to actually sit there and chew on their tails. So if you want to have like angry mama, yeah, it's like quarantine during the corona apocalypse. You're stuck at home with 3 children chewing on your tail. It's not good. So not
sunshine. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. So not Chonk, right? But the reason for not being a Chonk is she's successfully managed to whelp at least a few pups. And so not Chonk, but she probably had some resources going into that time of year so she can get through this, which is super cool.
That was my rationale, but I wanted you to explain it because I was not certain I was correct.
Well, hey, no, it's all good. So you see crazy things. One thing I didn't include in the slide set today because it's subpar is I don't have a coyote with mange in here, which would not be a Chonk for a different reason. If you ever see one and you think about the myth of La Chupacabra or El Chupacabra, that's what they are. It's a mangy coyote. So that's one of those things, not a Chonk, but for a reason of infectious disease, which you want to read all about it. I have an outreach publication about chupacabras. I kid you not.
Amazing.
Just Google my name and chupacabra and it'll come up. All right. So coyote the fourth. Now, I gave you a little bit of ancillary information here because I left a dead pig in the photo.
Yeah.
The other thing here, if you're unaware, when coyotes are angry, apparently they tuck their tail and scream at the ground. Why that's effective, I'm sure I don't know. But it's like this every time. Instead of yelling at you, they're like, I'm mad at you. And they yell at the ground. So this coyote, in an optimal foraging standpoint, dear students, what is he doing? He's got an optimal resource. He is defending that resource against conspecifics, probably, right? Oh, I like it. Optimal foraging. Good job. Good job. So is he chonky or is he not? And I say he. I can't actually tell from the photo all that clearly where I'm sitting right now. But chonky or not chonky? What's the vote?
We haven't had anyone vote in yet. Sophie says Chonk. I'm going to say that thing has a pig belly because it's full of pig. Look at that. Look at that right there. I mean, that's Thanksgiving dinner right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What you got, Olivia? Chonk?
Yeah. What did you say, Olivia? I can't see that real well. Chonk, not chonk, not chonk. I think it's chonk in progress.
Yeah. So here's a fun thing about this. Coyotes and canids in general, canids don't chew. If you have a pet dog, you know this, but canids don't really chew. If you have your pet dog chew kibble, it's awkward. They'd rather just swallow it. They bite and pull, right? So that's their feeding mechanism. And most of the time, coyotes will get it into reasonable sized chunks and swallow it and haul out of there and get away from that food resource and then digest later. So he's got pig belly going on. And is he chonky? Nah, but he's chonk in progress. I agree, Dr. Grisham. The thing about a lot of coyote feeding behaviors is they're adaptations from a time in which coyotes existed with gray wolves. These guys have no idea there aren't gray wolves around, but what happens in places where you have, like where Wyoming lives, if you have both gray wolves and coyotes, the gray wolves will kick the coyotes' butt if they find them on a feeding site.
Yeah.
And so the coyotes wolf down a bunch of food, so the saying goes, and they get out of there. So he's got pig belly, but otherwise he's defending his optimal foraging resource. So fun stuff. All right, let's move to the next one. And it's time for a vocab lesson, friends. Penultimate. It means the next to the last. I wanted you to have a word of the day. So the next to the last one, right? Chonk or not chonk. And if you are a scholar and you notice, if you are on my capture crew, this one is wearing a collar. So good job, guys.
I'm getting chonk right now, and for the uninitiated, for individuals who are tuning in here, the looks like, is that the battery pack right there, Dr. Tomecek?
Yep, that is the battery pack on the bottom. The GPS would be on top, and you can't see it in this photo.
So we're getting across the audience on stream, we're getting votes of mostly chonk right now. Let me see what the officers have to say.
I like Olivia's kind of chonk. Yeah, it's kind of chonky. Yeah, I've got a dead pig in the background. Yeah. Caveat, subpar data feed, right? I've got a bunch of photos that I took at carrion sites. So kind of chonk, right? Definitely getting on the way. They're definitely healthy, has a very full pelage. So we know you can't grow fur unless you're in good shape, because that's a resource you just can't invest in.
That my comment or the question I had for you, it looked like maybe that's a winter coat or a winter coat coming in.
Yep, so that is taken in late November.
Nailed it, doctor.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, academic, done.
If I had to guess that wrong, I'd just stop the stream and walked out.
Yeah, well, you're the Russian chested. Just flip the.
just leave Mike in charge and take off. It'd probably be in much better hands.
No, that's a bad idea.
I gotta say, guys, I'm really digging the Texas Tech hat. This thing's nice.
It looks good on you. Green, you're all good in green.
For all the other student chapters on here, well, thank you, Dr. Christian. For all the other student chapters on here, I do like hats. So if you got a hat, I don't mind buying them. I'm not asking for free, but I love hats. So hook me up. Let me know how to buy one from you. Texas Tech kids, I want to buy one of your hats. Okay. So
look at Mike's hat, everyone. That's our new hat right there.
That's pretty slick, y'all.
I like it. I like it a lot. And thanks to Viejo for hooking us up with the manufacturer.
Yeah, for sure. So guys, this was the penultimate. So what do you think the next one's going to be?
The final.
Oh, we could call it the final, but this is chonk or not chonk, and we got to have the ultimate.
All right.
The ultimate chonk.
Oh, Lord. All right. I'm not
Okay, remember I told you that thing about never have an 80-pound coyote? This one might push the boundaries.
We got Fat Boy, we got Chonk, Big Boy, Chonky King, Absolute Chonk.
Hang on, Mike, I can't quite read yours.
No, it still can't see that.
Now put it in front of your face, Micah.
Now closer.
Closer. Closer.
Closer. The biggest.
I'm serious.
We got the Big Chungus.
Big Chungus.
I'm going to move this out of the way so everybody can see the size of this absolute unit.
Yeah, guys, this is like the chonkiest boy that ever chonked right here.
I mean, this is every Instagram girl's dream right here.
Oh yeah, this is something special. I'm just here to tell you. So we got this photo on one of our camera traps on a carrion site, and an intern of mine was going through cataloging photos. And usually I don't hear much out of her because she's just cataloging photos. Those of y'all that know Danny that works for me, it was Danny. And she came and got me and she goes, "We got to talk about this, Doc." And I went, "What? What's going on?" She goes, "Look, we just got to talk about it." So she showed it to me and I went, "Oh Lord, he coming."
That's gold right there.
Yes.
I'm going to hit 40 in about 2 years. That right there. That's what I'm shooting for. Almost 20 years married, just out the window, just fat and happy, wearing white crispy boys mowing my yard. That's
optimal foraging theory, guys. This chonk is optimally foraging. He is evolutionarily a success.
So on our Coyote capture, you said you typically grade them 1 to 5, correct? As in
Yeah,
condition?
I don't know what I would grade him, like a 9.
Like
I
he's
mean,
like a 10. It's like 2 coyotes.
you just draw a smiley face on that part of the data sheet and call it good. So yeah, we do body condition scoring, right? Like you can do for ungulates or even galliforms or anything when you work off the breastbone. We do that for coyotes. This guy's ridiculous. And so this was taken in the dead of winter, guys. Think about that for a minute. Dead of winter, limited food resources, springtime's easy. What the heck is he finding out there? Because we don't know what he's eating, but clearly he is not resource limited.
Nope.
There might be 5 little coyote babies somewhere that are resource limited, but not this guy.
Nope.
All right. So those are my chonk or not to chonks. I really enjoyed sharing those with you. We've all got a million good game camera photos. These are some gems of mine. But I also would like to introduce, I'm shameless and I love my animals. So what the Heckin Chonk? Sorry, this is my dog trying to go after a nilgai tender that was in a skillet one night. So this is not a coyote. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get him to do a cameo. He's not nearby. Max, where are you? Come here.
Max. The dog's name is Max.
The dog's name is Max, yes.
Max is a good boy. Look at that smile.
He's the goodest boy. Hang on, he's coming. Oh, Lord, he's coming. Max, come in.
Did he get any nilgai?
No, God, no. Come here, buddy. Come here. Let's see if you'll fit. No, come here. No, come here. Max, up. Come here. Max, come on, up.
There he is. Look how big he is.
Okay, yeah. All right, sorry.
Flash of Max.
Yeah, well, with the background, it doesn't work that well. But anyways, so again, compare this chonk to my 70-pound Malinois. I'm just saying, Lord, he chonky. So when we talked about these chonks in some of their different places, I did want to show you some of the context photos real quick. So again, I told you we had some resource sites. Take a look at that. So you got at least 4 coyotes in this photo, and if I were to play you all of them, you'd see there's actually a couple more coming in. From an optimal foraging standpoint, yeah, dude, those pigs are the dinner bell. It's incredible. But that one with the really neat peelage is actually in the center of the shot here, walking up.
Right
and
there,
you can,
the little spot on the nose right there.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the others in the frame that have noticed him are all snarly and mad and probably about to yell at the ground because that's what they do.
This guy back here in the background, is that fabrication of light, or is that a little bit of a chunky boy?
He's a little chunky, right? And I don't know which one that is because he stayed on the periphery. We did have one that like laid down and went to sleep. I haven't figured out what that's about.
Well, there's optimal foraging. So for our viewers who don't know, optimal foraging is an ecological theory dating back to the 1970s that kind of tries to mathematically quantify energy expenditure, energy intake, given all the things that animals have to deal with. Now, for us here, Dr. Tomecek, you might have something to talk about this a little bit later, but for all of us, we go to McDonald's, that's 1,000 calories, it's over our limit. For animals in the wild, obtaining resources can be extremely difficult. So not just finding the resource, like finding this pig, but you also have concepts like handling time, like is this guy going to get the dinner before this one? And for the one that is actually sleeping, that's actually a pretty good strategy, in my opinion. If it has competition, why not take a nap?
Just wait. Yeah. So speaking of competition, my dear Dr. Grisham, I enjoyed this photo. This is from another pig carcass site we had. So if I were to show you the full set of slides, the one coyote that's in the back that's really angry right now had been feeding and walked away, and then the other one slipped in and started feeding. And this guy comes back in, and if you'll look, he's actually got a paw batting him away as he's snarling at him, and the other's getting out of there, which is followed up by the most professional, most genteel looking photo that I've ever had a game camera take.
It's establishing dominance.
Yes, 100% my leftovers of pig. So anyways, lots of fun photos of chonk and chonk in progress and the attempt to chonk, which I particularly enjoy.
So, Dr. Tomecek, if you remember correctly, a few years ago, maybe it was the Dallas TWS meeting, the photograph that won Best Humor was the one of the coyote taking the dump in the pond. So you're not...
I remember that one. Honestly, that one was one of my favorites because I'm like, hey, that's great. Look at sanitary environment. It's perfect. It washes it right away.
I think Dr. Glasscock took that.
She did, yeah. Dr. Jessica Glasscock took that, I think, or maybe Selma did. One of the Glasscocks took it right there on the coast. Fantastic. One of the best coyote photos I've ever seen.
I remember that photo. This reminds me of that. So I do have a question for you about this photograph. So it looks like they leave nothing to waste on the sticks. What do you when they have a carcass or something that they're eating? Is there a body part that they go after first that has more nutrients or energy intake?
So that's a really good question. With coyotes, it's really interesting. So we see them typically get inside of the internals first, and they'll pull out things like livers and hearts and things like that before they go after other stuff. And in many ways, this is probably an adaptation dealing with competition at resource sites from things like gray wolves.
Yeah.
But what's interesting too, because coyotes are actually omnivorous and they can digest a variety of things, if they get really hard up for resources, they'll start getting inside of rumen contents on ruminant animals and eating what is still left in there before it's really digested. And so in the drought of 2011, we were seeing coyotes that were eating whole corn from deer feeders and all kinds of crazy stuff. But what's interesting about coyotes is we see from a scavenging standpoint, these carcasses we put out, usually within 2 or 3 days, they're completely picked clean. They're down like this. And so you go from that, and this is not the same animal, but you go from something that looks like this to something that looks like that in 2 or 3 days, just with the kind of the scavenging guild that's on the site. So most of these photos, not all of them, a lot of these photos were taken on some of the work we do in South Texas and various places. And I really want to highlight, again, I'm proud of the Texas Tech kids. You guys are awesome. So we do, in my lab, a tremendous amount of research down with the East Foundation on their San Antonio Viejo property. And so we're looking at the ecology and behavior and interactions with various other species of coyotes in a landscape where they're actually unharassed and unharvested, which San Antonio Viejo, being about 160,000 acres in Jim Hogg and Stark County, is super unique because they don't actively, consumptively use native wildlife. So coyotes aren't harassed, they're not trapped, they're not harvested. And so we get to look at all of these wildlife species in the absence of human persecution, whether that's hunting of game animals or harvest of predators, to see what they do without human activities, which is unique, not really been done before. So the way we achieve this is we catch coyotes every year from a helicopter, which is super fun, as the Texas Tech kids that came with me can attest. So we have a helicopter fly and we helinet coyotes every year from the chopper. And we'll catch, these days we catch in the ballpark of 40 animals a year. We take blood tissue and give them microchips, and we put GPS collars on them that transmit data from the satellite to track their movement every year. So I would like to highlight some of my very proud moments from this year's capture with the Texas Tech students. And so I like to, we always do a group photo at the end.
Yeah.
So this is our capture crew this year, made out of East Foundation folks, Texas A&M folks, our wonderful helicopter outfit, capture outfit, and also our Texas Tech friends who came down and participated. And you will see the happiest Dr. Blake Grisham ever there on the front left. As I told him he could drive a Polaris Ranger like he stole it. And yep, he definitely did that. So I know I could spend all night talking about these photos and showing you all kinds of fun stuff. So I just want to show you kind of snippets from our time in the field, including what I believe to be the most glamour shot related field photo ever. And I'll leave it up to curiosity as to who's in that. So if you don't believe me that we catch stuff out of helicopters, there's a photo of the helicopter flying away after having netted a coyote. You'll see me pointing and gesticulating at something there with my lab hat on. And the intrepid President Micah Rainey down there in the bottom on the coyote, getting it done, listening to instructions. And the wonderful Mr. Landon Schofield off to the right from the East Foundation, presiding over this in the foundation's best interest. Thank you, Landon, for taking care of us. And then my new PhD student, Alex Atena, on the left, watching the helicopter fly away. Guys, it's an incredible amount of fun when we do these things, but the South Texas environment is not friendly to get around in. So when we go, I always tell students, wear heavy clothes, because we're going to drive 40 miles an hour in a Polaris and just go straight through the brush. And one thing you learn is what size, what dBH of mesquite tree you can break with a Polaris. There's a line. Below that dBH, you break it, go on. Above that dBH, it stops you, and you have to go around. So tremendous amount of fun, a lot of good research going on. And again, we're wildlifers. We love doing this stuff. Other people from the general public might find this to be a form of torture, but for us, it's just great fun. So again, when we catch these coyotes, we do a number of different things on them. So you see variety of members of my crew and the Texas Tech crew. We have a coyote in a drop cloth. We need to get weights, right? Get mass of these animals. So you get them in a drop cloth, they're muzzled, they're hobbled, and they're very safe. And then we pick them up all together in the cloth with a pistola scale, and we weigh them and see what they're weighing out to. So again, subpar photos because we're all working in the field, but whoever took photos, we share them all, and it's a tremendous amount of fun. So this one, I have no idea what Micah and I are looking at here, but Micah and I are looking off in the distance at something when we have an animal in front of us that we, in theory, should be working on. As you'll see, one of the last things we ever do is put on a GPS collar. So we do the workup on these animals, make sure they're safe, make sure they're good, and we put on the collar and let them go. And so you'll see here, we've got the muzzles. If you ever follow the U.S. Federal Wolf Projects, they have those brilliant blue muzzle hood things. So when we got started on this project a few years ago, so we're in the 4th year now, I had a really wonderful master's student who happened to know somebody that had worked on wolves. And he said, I can get us those muzzles. So he called the guy that makes them and says, could you make them, but small? I said, well, small. And the guy did. So we have coyote muzzles that are miniature wolf muzzles because they're aspiring to be wolves, apparently.
Amazing.
So we've got the GPS collar on. Everything's been done on this animal. If I think back to it, chances are what Mike and I are doing is deciding which direction we're going to release that animal so that they're safe when we let them go, right? So we don't want them to run into something or run into a person. So anyways, fun photo there. And here's one of my action shot photos. So Danny that works for me, one of my interns, is pulling that muzzle off. You can see it in mid-flame. And I pulled the hog tie off and we're standing back and somebody's letting the pole go. And you can see the coyotes just starting to roll to get up. So again, we release these animals, give them somewhere to go. Everybody's smiling, having a lot of fun. But again, as I'm an academic, I'm looking on this skeptically and kind of pursing my face and going, it's subpar. Although I have to say, Texas Tech crew, this was the fastest, most efficient capture I ever had. And I really got to harp on that, guys. Now, I am bummed our Sol Ross friends couldn't make it this time, and including the now Dr. Justin French, who was the first PhD student out of this project, could not make it. They were busy on projects, actually, I understand, up in y'all's country, Tech.
Mm-hmm. There was a pronghorn capture going on at the same time.
So we were bummed not to have them. Although, if those guys are listening in right now, you know we had no problems, fast, efficient captures. And all we had to do was take the Sol Ross kids out of the equation. So I don't know what's going on here.
I did not say that. Someone clipped that to Twitch. You can email it to Dr. Lewis Harbison at harbison@solross.edu.
So,
keep iron that out.
but jokes aside, what I really appreciate about these projects is it's a ton of fun to be able to get folks from different universities down. We'll have vet students down. The Sol Ross kids have been great.
Yes.
This was the first time we've had Texas Tech down. And I got to say, guys, I appreciated your professionalism. And another thing I appreciate, although Wyoming is here, as you can always find Wyoming because he's got his Yeti hat on. This is Zach Johnson, intrepid master's student from Texas A&M, who was an East Foundation intern one summer. And if you haven't done or haven't applied for it, when they do their internships, man, apply for the East internships. They're tremendous. So we have to pack nets after we shoot them, right? And so Zach's diligently packing these nets for the capture crew. And I will point out, although I'm picking on Brandon here, everybody from Tech did a great job really pitching in there, packing nets, learning how to do this. And we didn't have, as far as I know, any misfired nets that the Tech kids packed. So that's a big, big deal, guys, because you shoot a net and it kind of binds up and doesn't get the animal, the capture crew will never let you live that down. I will hear about it for years. And those of y'all that met the legendary Joe Gonzalez, Joe will never forget it. So more fun photos from the field. So we have to restrain these animals. When we first got started, somebody said, you know, Doc, why don't we just get hobbles that they make for wildlife captures? We can hobble these animals. Coyote feet are weensy. And so we actually had to take paracord and make tie strings to be able to tie these animals up. So for those of you going, I'm getting into wildlife, I don't know, where any of my skills will ever be applicable. If you grew up doing any kind of rodeo, I'm just telling you, the ability to quickly tie an animal and be done, I will be able to tell who has done that and who has not. And it's always really impressive. So Dr. Lalo Gonzalez from Sol Ross, Lalo, I've never actually seen him rope and tie anything, but I've watched him on deer and coyotes and other stuff. He must be a rodeo champion. So Lalo, if you're on, my hat off to you. I am slower than everybody else because I was never a great rodeo. So again, when we let these animals go, it's always a tremendous amount of fun, and people smile. There's dear President Micah smiling right now as this animal takes off and goes back about its normal life to go run around for a year with a collar on. And again, here I'm apparently approving of my pole release. But lest we forget that we managed to get bird people handling mammals, here is the dear Dr. Blake Grisham himself looking at a tissue puncher where we take tissue to do genetic workup later. And of course, Zach Johnson's over there handling the coyote gut net that we're dealing with. I just think this is tremendous because, Blake, am I correct in understanding this is the first time you'd handled coyotes?
Yes, it was.
Getting those new experiences, guys, anytime you get a chance to do something you haven't done before, go do it because it's always going to be fun unless it's not. But then you at least get to bond with people. On this stuff, I believe you've said before, dear Dr. Grisham, that this is the most fun you ever had on a capture.
It was. So I'm going to back it up. Yeah, so when Warren said, hey, I got to go to the pronghorn capture, do you mind going down with John to take the kids down on this invitation-only coyote capture? And I said, that's perfect. I mean, I've handled birds my whole life, and in terms of the gamut of birds, almost everything minus seabirds. So I wanted to get more experience with mammals beyond teaching class and things like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm in for it. And I really didn't know what to expect once we got down there because I've heard you talk in techniques about using footholds and other things. But when I heard the term helo capture, my little redneck brain was like, it just lit up. It's like, all right, there's some logistics here that I'm not familiar with, but I'm really excited to see no matter what the outcome was. And you said it best when you told me to take that UTV. So for the viewers here, just as an FYI, I am a certified USGS ATV UTV trainer. I grew up on a four-wheeler, and I've wrecked more than probably the age of all the officers combined just because I grew up on a cotton farm in Arkansas. And I used to drive, I had a four-wheeler, my first one was, I think I was 3 or 4. My mom and dad got me like a little 50cc Honda, and I was ramming shit in our backyard when I was a kid. I grew up on it, and I'm like, if they're giving me permission to drive this thing like I really know how, I'm going to test the limit.
Yeah, that's what it takes, right?
Oh, it was. They were like, go faster. I was like, oh, hell yeah, brother. And we went.
So this is the thing. I mean, jokes aside, we stay safe. We make sure everybody's properly attired and protected. And we do have modicums of safety we observe. That's why the PIs drive the Polarises and not some kid that's going to roll the dang thing.
Yeah, and in my own personal experience driving those UTVs, I know the edge of safe versus insane.
Yeah, exactly.
For our audience, I was on the border of insane the entire time. Was I ever scared? No, because I never pushed it past that line because I had Ian, our only herpetology student, and I wanted to kill the one kid who studied snakes in her. And then Landon was with us, and some other representatives. The other individual from the Coyote crew was with us.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, I know how to drive this thing, and you guys just bear with me and hang on, and we're going to go. And there wasn't a second where I felt out of control, but every single second I was behind the wheel was just like my adrenaline was like 12,000.
And I will say, working in the brush country of South Texas is its own special beast. You kind of have to develop this like spidey sense for the brush and where you can go around and where you can't. Because the helicopter doesn't care. They're on mission, on target, and you've got to work around them. But amazingly, it always works out. And I really chalk that up to good friends, good partnerships. And the fact that, guys, we go down and we volunteer on everybody else's captures. Nobody's paying us to do that. We do it because we enjoy what we do. To that note, I have to really brag on this next photo. And I apologize, I don't know who took it. It was somebody that's probably on the call. But Olivia, this is the most glamour shot field photo I have ever seen. Unedited, guys. Hashtag no filter. That is real field cred right there. Look at that. So
I took that. I have it on my camera, and once I get permission from the appropriate outlets, I will give it to Olivia because it's such a lovely photo. And you guys, being A&M and the East Foundation, have my explicit approval on video to use it any way you see fit. So go for
thank
it.
you. So the thing I would say, and I want to point out here, Olivia is actually affixing the collar here, and we've got one of our folks standing in the background going to hand her the nut driver to tighten the collar down. And these are remote release. They're going to fall off at the end of the year. But we want folks, when they do this stuff, to get experience. So Olivia, when you came out, I assume you've never put a collar on a coyote before.
Nope.
Nope. But by the end of the time down there, it's like you've handled enough. Go put some on. Go do it. And so, again, those collars have all stayed on. We know that because those animals are still running around with them on, giving us data, and it's brilliant. So, again, wonderful field commitment, a lot of learning. Can't be prouder of you guys. I will say that I want to take a couple of minutes to play some release videos just because these are brilliant. And we've got a little bit of the slow-mo. I learned from the Texas Tech Field School in Junction how to do slow-mo photos on an iPhone, and so now I'm addicted to them.
Yeah, so I still have those photos of your crew releasing birds if we ever get that.
Oh.
So I have those for you whenever the next time we meet up. So
thank you. Those are great. So, and sometimes the coyotes are so relaxed, guys, they don't even run off. I had to poke at this one, and again, it's not rough. It's just giving it a nudge to get it to walk away, and then off it goes. Right back to merriment, happy coyote living. I don't know why that one doubled. So here's the intrepid Wyoming himself.
Yeah.
Look at that release. Now, Wyoming, I got to say, that was textbook. You lifted that loop off and over, and bam, just perfect. And that animal is out of there. These are all doubled, and I don't know why. All right, here again, this is an all Texas Tech release, and I'm so proud of this, guys. Of course, I'm in the background somewhere, somebody whose permit it is, making sure everybody's good and doing what they need to do. But from a standpoint of student education, I am so proud of you guys. So y'all had this release handled. There you go. Released and out of there. And that's what they do every single time. They're like, oh, I'm gone. Except for the first year. We had one that actually almost ran into Dr. Lalo Gonzalez and Dr. Poncho Ortega. It got up and ran towards them for some reason, and then freaked out, jumped, and spun around and ran the other way. So coyotes usually wily, sometimes not so much.
We
so
had that happen to a sandhill crane in Oregon. So there's the greater sandhill cranes there, and a big male can be 16, 17 pounds. And typically they fly away, but our very first capture, the very first year of study, Kathy, my colleague, and I were releasing the animal, and she never held one before. I said, Kathy, we both had safety glasses on. I said, cover your head like this, even though you have safety glasses, because just at the random chance that the animal reaches back and hits you. And we have a great photo of that huge male greater sandhill crane, literally just all up in her grill. And that's the only one that's ever turned around and started pecking at us ever. But it's terrifying. That's why it's safety first, folks.
Safety first, and always give yourself an escape route, because you never know which one's going to turn around. If it's small, that's one thing. If it's something large, like a big buck mule deer or something, you need an escape plan every time. So I promised the last time I was on with you guys, I think a couple of weeks ago, that I would talk a little bit about professionalism and whatnot. And so I have just a few short slides, mostly because I like fun photos and bragging on people. When you're going through your professional progression as students and you're thinking about becoming a wildlifer, we all had a reason we got here. We all had a reason we started and got into wildlife. This is a game camera photo of mine from Menard County, actually not that far from the Junction campus. Back in 2016, I want to say, we had a freak snowstorm one winter, and just beautiful photo. But fun fact that not everybody knows, the reason I got into wildlife originally was just a love of gray foxes. They'd always fascinated me as a kid. Don't know how it happened, just did, and I was on it. Hence why I have I have a fox for a logo, and it's really, really nice. Never have a gray fox research project yet, but we're going to get there. But how do you go from goofy freaking kid, this is me, with a fish I caught at my parents' place when I was a kid. How do you go from goofy freaking kid like that? By the way, guys, that Ski Wisconsin t-shirt, that was a fashion statement. I'm just here to tell you, that was early 90s chic.
Yeah.
How do you go from that to being a respected wildlife society president? Well, apparently people don't know you that well and they vote for you. But aside from that, there's a few things that I would tell you as students to always do. So in my PhD, I worked on northern bobwhite. That was a ton of fun. I work a lot on carnivores and pigs and stuff like that now. They're a ton of fun. Regardless of the species you end up working on, be curious. Always, always, always be curious, right? So I was on a quail project. I'm holding a horned lizard in this photo, and you can see how stupidly happy I am. P.S. This was in my PhD. I actually met Danny when she was like a first-year undergrad student back then, and Danny took this photo of me, and I'm going, look at it, it's a horned lizard. Oh my goodness. And again, I'm supposed to be doing quail veg work at the time. I'm graduated now. My advisor doesn't know, but be curious about everything, right? Because you never know where you're going to discover a passion or something fun. And anytime you get a chance to go work on somebody else's project, man, I can't recommend it enough. And I say that because when you're in grad school, this is me. I never had a deer project in grad school. The guy on the right is Dr. Jared Beaver, who's now up at Montana. And this was Jared's PhD project. They needed an extra hand for a deer capture one time. And I said, sure, why the heck not? I'll come down. And so here Jared and I are together working his deer, aging deer, and everybody's doing a ton of stuff. The reality is you never know who you're going to be working with throughout the rest of your career, but go get diverse experience. Even if somebody's got like a wood rat project and you're like, oh, wood rats, who cares? Go do it. You never know what it's going to turn into. And the other thing I got to say on that note, be collegial. This photo means nothing to you, but this is me at a conference in Greece a couple of years ago with a guy that works on jackals in Southern Africa. His name's Leanne Mini. Leanne's a great friend, and I'd never met him before. And you work with people that work on stuff you work on. You get to build friendships that stretch the whole world and get cool opportunities. And because we're all nerds and we take conference photos, this is like 4 continents worth of jackal experts sitting in the back of a bus in Greece. So if Wile E. Coyote really wanted to get rid of all of us, it would have been the place to like run and into the bus and be done with us. But we've got folks in this photo from Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, all over the place that work on canids. Be collegial, meet folks in your field, and just be open to learning how they do stuff in other places. One thing I want to give to you is be a team player. So this is a really fun photo for me. One of the first projects I had as a faculty member was actually a mesocarnivore/guard dog interaction study. And on the left is my intrepid master student, Nick Broman, who's from the Pacific Northwest. Nick's graduated and gone home, but his claim to fame was that he had worked on every single canid in North America at some point. Wow. Incredible guy. I learned tons of stuff from him. So Nick was my master's student, but Nick was way more experienced than I was in a lot of areas. I have a lot to learn from him. On the right, if you know Dr. Justin French out at Sul Ross, that's Justin is a wee brand new PhD student. And I say wee tongue in cheek because I'm short and he's hunching down to not make me feel bad. But you never know who everybody's going to end up being later. Be a team player. I learn things from my students all the time. They learn stuff from me. And the most fun we get to have as faculty is this, because then Justin graduated and became a newly minted PhD. And boy, that was a warm fuzzy. And I like bragging on people, so I'm sorry. I'm exposing you to photos of my children, essentially, like the old man at the bus station going, look at my kids. The other thing I got to tell you to do, even as college kids, as you go through. So I teach brigades camps most summers. Not going to happen this summer, unfortunately. What's cool in this photo is in the background is Mr. Ricky Lennox from NRCS, who is God's gift to Plan ID. Yep. And I learn a ton from Ricky, and he's dutifully watching over me, right? Making sure I don't lie to these poor brigades kids, which I do frequently. And I make up plans, and then Ricky cuffs me on the back of the head. If you don't believe me, ask him. He'll tell you I do just that. And I'm trying to teach these students, you got to mentor people younger than you, even if sometimes they don't respect what you have to say. Look at that kid's face. I'm trying to scream a plant. It's like, not doing it. So I always tell people in Texas A&M in the student chapter, they get sick of me saying this, and I got it from my mentors. Everybody's on a progression upward, a staircase, a ladder, whatever. Wherever you are, there's somebody behind you. Reach back behind you, grab them. Oh, shoot, I almost flipped my desk. Grab them, pull them up with you. I gesticulate. Grab them, pull them up with you, and mentor them, right? And so at the end of the day, this field is a weird kind of family professional conglomeration. Hence why we're here on a Friday night having fun, even though nobody's making us. And I'm wearing me a Texas Tech hat because even though we're at different schools, we're all one family, really. So be sure to do that in your lives, and also brag on your family anytime you can, or your animals. So you met Max a little bit. You saw a photo of Max. This is Max is a wee baby puppy, and I just like bragging on my animals. So when he was little, Max would get tired running next to the horse, and I'd have to pull him up in the saddle and let him ride with me. But more especially, be you no matter what you go and do, because your unique backgrounds and experiences are going to contribute. This photo makes me look pretty stereotypical Texas wildlifer background, and that's true. But I don't care where you come from, you've got something to contribute to the mix. So be sure to do that. And with that, I know I'm running over 8 o'clock. I'm sorry, I'm running through slides. We're in the corona apocalypse, so forgive me if I don't shake hands. But thank you for the time to come and talk to y'all tonight.
You're a daisy if you do. John, if you don't mind, sir, can you stop sharing your screen so we can get all of our officers back on, please?
Yep, let me do that real quick. And see if I can not blow this thing up, because I am not good with the Zoom.
Oh, me neither. I have learned over the past 4 weeks, I think we got back, that my technology skills are subpar and inadequate. But to live on Gen Z a little bit, theirs is worse. Yeah.
So
I spent a lot of time guiding people through technology.
I will say this, my dear Dr. Grisham. I have adopted and used the "that's a you" problem that I learned from the Texas Tech kids. By the way, single best thing I've ever learned. My students hate it now. However, I was complaining about a technology woe to one of my master's students the other day, dear Rachel Connolly, if y'all know Rachel, who we're very proud is graduating soon and will now be the county biologist in Presidio County for TPWD. Very proud of Rachel. Yeah. I can't brag on these kids enough. They make me look good, and we all know I'm subpar and inadequate. So it's all about having a good team.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that shares that feeling. It's like,
no, that's exactly how it is.
I'm going to brag on them a lot.
Yeah. So I asked Rachel, I've done something wrong with this technology, and we're on a Zoom call, and she looks at me and she goes, "That's a you problem."
Mm-hmm. So forgive me, I forget her name. Camila? Was that her? Your
in the summertime?
Yes.
Camilla Tushev from Germany.
Yes, that's she taught us how to say it in German. Das the same probably. so I can say it 2 languages. So I use it all the time. And
I talked to dear Camilla the other day, and she wanted me to tell everybody hello. And she's now gainfully employed, working as a PhD student back in Germany. I think moonlighting for her state wildlife agency. So
very good.
But she's taken your Texas Tech values back to the old world with her.
Good. So that was my next comment. It's really wild to hear people who are like 1 or 2 people disconnected to say it and like, oh, like our students say it all the time. And I caught my wife saying it the other day. She's like, "That's a you problem." And I'm like, "Where'd you get that from? Where did you learn that?" So it's really fun to kind of meme that to the generations. That one caught on really fast.
It's such a good one, though. I mean, that's the thing. Anytime that you're like, ugh, that's their own fault, and I don't want to help them. Yeah, that's a you problem.
Yeah, it's pointed, it's directed, it's a little bit petulant, and it's really douchey. And I love
it's educational.
It gets to the point across in a hurry. John, while I have you on here, Maggie Meyer from she was in our Junction campus. We have a few students on from Techniques, and I'm passing on. You can maybe see it on the chat stream, but they appreciate you taking your time and your crew last year coming down to Techniques to help them. So I was passing that on just in case you didn't see it, but they were saying thank you very much.
Thanks you guys for having me. That's awesome.
And it looks like we're going to have you again in August if we can get this thing rolling again. That's upper admin, but we're working on it. Before we end today, officers in our audience, Do you guys have any questions for Dr. Tomecek?
So I don't have a question. I have a clarification. So the photo where Dr. Tomecek and I were looking off in the distance, I believe you were trying to figure out the correct way to release the coyote safely instead of just looking off in the distance at nothing. I just want to clarify that. Like, we were doing the right thing at the moment, just didn't, there were some comments on that.
I mean, you never know. My brain goes to test pattern occasionally, and poor Mike is probably looking at me, looking off, going, "Is he broken? Is he okay?"
So,
that could be an option, but I think we were trying to release that photo, is what I was thinking.
hey, Micah, do you have your other hat?
I do. I don't know if I'm allowed to show it yet or not. Okay.
Go ahead.
I haven't put it on yet, actually.
We're on for it to work. So I am pleased to announce everybody that Micah is going to be the next member of my lab down here at College Station. Apparently, because she doesn't know me that well, and she agreed to it anyway. So
John, I didn't want to spill the beans, but you were bragging on your kids, so I'm going to brag on one of us real quick. So all of those are great, but John and I have been working on this for a while, and I'm really glad to see it worked out. And for everyone watching who are potential employers, everyone on this screen, I highly recommend.
And I will second that, guys, because I have no vested interest here. Every single one of these Texas Tech kids that I've worked with in the field, I would vouch for. And for those of y'all who are students that are looking for employment, after the last 2 or 3 years of getting to know Micah, working with her in the field, talking with her about her goals, all these things, everything kind of came together, and I went, yeah, that's the one. Let's do that. And so you never know who your next employer is going to be. Yeah, look at that. She's got her name on that.
Yeah.
You never know who your next employer is going to be. And frankly, you can't go very far without finding somebody that knows you. Because you went to Texas Tech, you go apply for a job, even if you don't list Grisham, they're going to call in anyway.
Yeah, I get lots of phone calls. Lots from people who think that I will never get called, and that's for every single faculty member in our department. I'm not special there. All those photos, I think I took them, and I wanted to say something real quick while we have everyone and even students on hand is, as professors and faculty members, we all have our pet peeves, and I have two. One is, if I tell you to do something, it's not a recommendation. It's like, I tell you to do this, do it to the point. And I think the person who's adopted that the most is Price. Price clowned that really early. He's like, oh, hell. And the other thing is when you're in the field, like with the coyote capture, like I was excited to go and capture and see, but I have a philosophy in the field that not a single person has idle hands at any single point in time. That's my other kind of pet peeve. And one thing you can always do to make yourself valuable, even though if you don't know what you're doing, like me on a coyote capture, I'm like, I'm going to stay back because one, I want my students to get all the expertise, even though I was like, all right, I will punch Olivia to get in there if I really need to. But I was just waiting to see the values we capture. I was like, all right, if we get one or two, maybe I'm knock that at two and then get what I need. Sorry, Olivia's mom. But when we started capturing the first few, take photos, and this is why I think I took most of those photos, and I have zero photography skills at all. But you never know what you're going to get on camera, and you make yourself valuable in the end. So that's a little bit of wisdom for everybody who's like, how do I make myself valuable on something where I have no experience? Pull out your phone and start taking photos, and let the PI know, hey, I got all these photos of you and your crew. Because one, you get glamour shots like Olivia, which Olivia's mom, we're so thankful to have you. I think she's super excited to get permission. I'll send it to Olivia's mom and fancy friend and whatnot. But two, you can capture random data points and or curiosity things on photos that could lead to another project or something fascinating in the end. So just a bit of wisdom to cut in here while we're talking about all these things. And I'm really grateful that you guys found those photos useful. So our audience members, I'm going to give you one last chance to ask Dr. Tomecek any questions about coyotes, his research expertise. Students, do you guys have any other things to say? Students, go ahead, Micah.
I've never said anything in my life ever.
You've also never heard anything.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You want to sass me?
Wait, do I not though?
Students, I want you to stay on for just a few seconds after we stop the stream. Please, Dr. Tomecek, same. For our audience, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We're going to end here shortly. We appreciate your joining us tonight. We don't have anything else to do, so this is about as best as you can get. And like I said, the audio and video is subpar and inadequate, but it is what it is. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to our special guest, Dr. John Tomecek. Everyone have a peaceful Friday night and a restful weekend. And good night.
Good night, y'all.